We've talked a lot recently about the changes in the law in regards to what Governor DeSantis signed into law at the end of March of this year. How it affects personal injury cases and negligence cases is important. And one of the things we've talked about in other videos was this concept of modified comparative negligence. The law was in Florida that you could be responsible for part of your injury and still collect, basically, for the percentage that somebody else was at fault. You still can do that. Unfortunately, now, if you're more than 50% at fault, you get zero. It used to be that you could be 50 or 60 or 70% at fault and somebody else is 30%, and you could still collect the 30% that somebody else was at fault. That sounds like a fair way of handling things, right? Well, Governor DeSantis decided that was not the best thing for the citizens of Florida, and he and the legislature decided to pass a tort reform bill that included this modified comparative negligence. And it basically says if you're 50% or more responsible, you get zero. You don't get 50% of the recovery like you used to. So here's why that matters. Whether it's any kind of case, it's always open to the party that you're suing to argue that you, as the plaintiff, as the injured party, yourself was negligent, and your negligence was the cause of your own injury, not their negligence. And they make that argument most of the time, even if they don't have a great case, right? But now that the playing field has been lowered till they only have to prove 50% negligence, it opens up a lot more theories for them that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And it gives them a lot more opportunities, if you will, and motivation to make arguments they otherwise wouldn't have made. That's important, especially in car wreck cases, because there's a study that was recently published that we'll put down below this video that discusses that almost half of the traffic fatalities in 2021 were because the people weren't belted. And you may think to yourself, well, why in the world would somebody not wear a seatbelt these days? A lot of people think, oh my God, my car has airbags like on this pillar, on the A pillar, on the B pillar, in front of me, on the sides of my seat. Hell, I'm going to be encapsulated in air if I ever am in a wreck. I'm only going down the street. What do I need a seatbelt for? I think that's part of it. The other part of it is people are distracted from their cell phones and whatever else they're doing in their car, and they forget to put their seatbelt on. But almost half of the fatalities in 2021 from motor vehicle accidents were not wearing seatbelts. And so that decision not only affects you and your severity of your injury, but it also is available to the defendants. And if a defendant in a car wreck case is able to prove that you weren't wearing a seatbelt, and then they ask the jury to find you at least 50% at fault for your own injuries, guess what? You get zero. So from a case perspective, lawyers that work on a contingency fee like we do, you don't want to recommend pursuing a case unless you can almost guarantee to the client that there's going to be some recovery. If you've got a question about that, you're probably going to side in the arena of, or in the area of not taking the case versus taking the case, because you don't want to spend money on a file and represent to a client you're going to recover money for them, and you don't end up doing that. So this study illustrates how important it is now to not only wear your seatbelt, okay, regardless of the legal consequences, but you should wear it anyway. But from a legal perspective, now that we have modified comparative negligence in Florida, it's going to be something that's argued a lot more and with a lot more success. And you're going to find a lot of lawyers finding out you're not wearing your seatbelt, and they basically tell you, we can't help you at all. So don't be surprised when you get turned away from law firms because of that fact. Of course, it depends on your injury, whether the lawyer thinks it's, and the facts of the case, whether the lawyer thinks you still should pursue that matter. So if you have questions about comparative negligence or modified comparative negligence or any kind of personal injury case, you can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE. Thank you.